got some important news for you. Okay. So what's going on? This is what's going on. Let me explain to you. So basically, what has been happening is the Department of Justice says there is no client list at its back of promise released. Okay. And eventually, the Department of Justice requests to release the Ghislaine Maxwell grand jury material has been denied by the judge. Why? Well, it's been denied by the judge because essentially it's saying that it's been denied by the judge because it says that secrecy protection applies and materials contains little new information, the judge says. That's the reason why. Okay. And that's a bit of a problem, my friends. So the federal judge on Monday denied the Justice Department bid to release the grand jury materials. The materials sought by the government. Basically, the premise is this. The premise is that the Justice Department entire premise that the Maxwell grand jury materials would bring to light meaningful new information about Epstein and Maxwell crime is demonstrably false. There were two different grand juries, and each heard from a single law enforcement. Basically, they've been under a lot of pressure to actually release the information. Now, I have in front of me, I have access to the actual document signed by the judge. Okay. I have this document signed by the judge from August 11th in New York. This is exactly, the conclusion is, and I'll take you to the document. For some reason, for the above reason, the court denies the government motion to unseal the grand jury materials in this case. And the reason they're saying that, if you read the document, and this is quite important. This is quite important because now basically you don't get to see. You do not get to see the document, right? The Department of Justice request to release the Ghislaine Maxwell grand jury materials has been denied by the judge, and the judge is saying, it's this secrecy. Basically, we don't want you to see everything, and frankly, at the end of the day, there's nothing to see here. There's little new information. Okay. I mean, essentially, last month, Trump basically said, produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. I think everyone wants to see everything. And this is what's amazing about this story. And this is a big story, believe it or not. Not so much because we'll talk about whether or not she gets clemency or not, but this is a big story because this is a MAGA-driven story. A MAGA-driven story is extremely important for the current administration because it helps carry whatever it is that they need to do. The moment they lose that support, the moment they lose the support of MAGA, it's all over. It is all over because the administration will not get the support from all of the Republicans. It will not get the support from all of the senators because they want to be reelected. Right? And you will notice everyone wants to know, I want to know what's going on. Please bring this woman over. Tell her to talk. Release everything. Knowing, and as the president mentioned, produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. Well, guess what? The court just says, no, that's not going to happen. We will not give you the release the grand. You're not going to see the grand jury material because, frankly, there's secrecy involved. So now, of course, when you hear that, you're saying you're hiding something, which does not necessarily mean that. We use that you have to protect the name of the innocent. But at the same time, it's also saying that we don't see a little. So I have access to the document itself, right? The document, which is basically United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell. It's an opinion and an order. That's what it's called. And basically, it says that she was convicted in 2021. The decision resolves the government July 18, 2025 motion to unseal grand jury transcript subject to redaction aimed at protecting victim confidentiality. Okay? So basically, she was convicted in 2021 to 5 felony involving the sexual abuse of young girl that she and other notorious pedophile Jeffrey Epstein committed between 1994 and 2004. And obviously, this resolved the request from July 18th from the current government to say, I want to see. Okay? So then it goes through the trial. Trial commenced in 2021. The brief evidence included the testimony of 4 women who described the abuse that they had suffered as girls. Then the trial evidence focused on 6 girls. So it goes over the post-trial motion in 2022. So, and then sentencing that occurred on July. So basically, they go over to the whole story, right? The government sought to sentence at least 360 months prison. And then there was an appeal in 2023. According to her, the DOJ recent statement regarding the disclosure of Epstein file that brings back as well. And then new reported account, motion to unseal. So then they bring, now they talk about, okay, so on July 18, the DAG filed a 3.5-page motion to unseal the grand jury transcript in this case. Basically issued a memorandum describing an exhaustive review undertaken by investigation. Since July 6th, there have been extensive public interest in the basis for this conclusion. Okay. While the FBI continued to the conclusion reached that is the most important of this administration, given the public interest, right, in the investigative work conducted, moves to unseal the underlying. Basically, this is the government, the current government asking them to please unseal the underlying grand jury, and the reason is given the public interest. That's the reason why we want you to unseal it. In the investigative work conducted by the DOJ into Epstein, the DOJ the DOJ, Department of Justice of the current administration, moves the court to unseal the underlying grand jury transcripts subject to appropriate redaction of victim names. So release it, cross out the name, but release it, right? After the case was reassigned to judge, blah, 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 on August 5th, Maxwell filed a letter. So you should know that on August 4th, the government submitted a letter seeking leave to advise the court. So on August 5th, Maxwell filed a letter opposing unsealing the grand jury transcripts. Did you know that? The day and next, the court docketed a total of 6 letters that representative of victim and other witnesses had submitted to the government. On August 8th, the government clarified it was moving to unseal the Maxwell grand jury exhibits. The policy that proceedings before grand jury shall generally remain secret. That is fact. You don't release this information. This usually you don't. They don't come out. The special circumstances doctrine. There is something called the special circumstances, meaning that the Second Circuit has recognized that in special circumstances, the disclosure of grand jury material may be appropriate even when it's not authorized by rule. So they could be done, right? This is from the document. It could be done. But the second developed this doctrine in 3 cases. And it basically is when did that happen, right? It's based on the district supervisory. So they go through some of the old cases. So the doctrine is to be applied only in exceptional circumstances. It does not justify grant garden variety petition, meaning garden variety say, hey, you guys want to know, so we're going to let you know. Now, that's not, it's not impossible, But we're not going to allow that. So the court has discretion in deciding whether to make public the ordinarily secret proceeding of a grand jury. The government bases, so basically the government says, no, this is a special circumstance. Now the thing is, if one is a lawyer, I think one should take a look at really how hard did you try? What kind of case did you make? Did you make a really good case? Because here's what my thinking is. I think a lot of these people saying, okay, you want to know? We want to know too. Please release the information. On what basis? And I need to make a note of this. Basically, on the basis that the people want to know. Right? Really? Is that going to be enough? Yeah, well, we're asking for it. Right? You want us to ask? We ask. But are you asking in the best possible way? Because what I see here, right, you're basically saying that the people want to know, so we should tell them. And the judge is saying, well, actually, this is not just because people want to know, this is a garden variety. This is a garden variety request. You're just curious, right? It's not like you find out something new. So this special circumstance is just not appropriate enough. It is not enough, right? Hey, Tassim, Hamed Khan Durrani. We're going to do something tomorrow on... but anyway, the Second Circuit is recognized that in special circumstances, and they're talking about the case of Gregg, the doctrine is based on district or supervisory authority. The second, you know what I think is happening here? I think what's happening is they're basically giving you what you think you want. You want to know, they're going to ask. And of course, they know very well that it's never going to be released. I am sure if you asked whoever wrote this letter from the government, from the Department of Justice to the district court, that it was written in a way that, did you make a strong case? And when you look at the case, it basically said, people want to know, please release. And I don't think that's going to happen. The government basis for claiming special circumstances is you didn't make a good case enough. Oh, so that means you don't want to release it, right? So they could say, well, I asked. They say no. The government invokes a special circumstance doctrine on the ground that there is an abandoned public interest in obtaining additional information, right? Blah, blah, blah. And basically then the government invocation of special circumstances, however, failed at the threshold. Its entire premise that the Maxwell grand jury material would bring to light meaningful new information about Epstein and Maxwell's crime is demonstrable false. Really? That's all you have? That basically we didn't do a good job enough and you're going to come up with something new by asking us to release information that we have access to it. If there was anything in it, we would have done something with it, and we didn't do anything with it. Therefore, there is not anything with it, right? The court, after receiving the government, ordered it to provide materials to substantiate its claim. So we say, okay, that the Maxwell grand jury contained undisclosed information of significant historical or public interest. Specifically, the court ordered the government to submit the grand jury transcript and exhibit, and it ordered the government to file a submission identifying the portion of the transcript, if any, that are not today matters of public record. The government, in response to the court, were telling. They belied the government's claim in its motion to unseal. Basically, I think they're telling them, hey, there's not much of anything. Each grand jury received evidence on a single day. On that date, or a testimony from one person, a law enforcement agent who, acting as a summary, testified. The agent responding to tightly structured questions. Basically, they're saying, you didn't give me enough proof. You didn't, there's not enough information here. Let me ask you this question. Let me do a quick poll here. I want to see what people are thinking. Do you want, and you're going to see why this thing is what this thing is about. Do you want to see the files? Let's see. Okay. A member of the public familiar with the Maxwell record who reviewed the grand jury is not identifying a person other than MC and Maxwell as having had sexual contact with a minor. They do not discuss or identify any client as a member of the public familiar with the Maxwell trial, right? The materials do not identify any person other than Epstein and Maxwell. They do not discuss or identify any client of Epstein. They do not reveal any errand to unknown means or method of crime. They do not reveal new venues. They do not explore the circumstances. They tell you, I look at the document, there's nothing in it. There is nothing. You don't need to see it. The case is thus a far cry from every reported case applying the Second Circuit Court special circumstance. There is nothing of a special circumstance in this thing. Okay. So, I mean, they talk about the government has not said in any case finding such material to present a special circumstance. I don't think the government did, they just said, just give me the information. And this is like not only what you asked for, you didn't ask probably the right way, the right cases. And second, we have seen there's nothing in there for you to see. There's no discussion of the person. There's no method. There's no list. There is nothing. So please move on. The problem is now the court therefore denies the government's motion to unseal at the threshold, contrary to the government depiction. The Maxwell grand jury testimony is not a matter of significant historical or public interest. Far from it. It consists of garden variety summary testimony by two law enforcement agents. And the information it contains is already almost entirely a matter of long-standing public record. Basically, but you kind of now. Showing this file will show clarity. Of course. And now is a conundrum that they have. This file, which basically, I'm just telling you because I'm reading this directly from the record itself, basically states that there is nothing in there for you to see. First, you didn't do a good case to wanted to see it. So you tell me that Pam Bondi and all these people, they don't know that? Right? Don't you think they know that? Although that's what kind of what the president was kind of saying originally. There's nothing here. And she said also, there's nothing. But somehow it came back. And now what do you do when you need to show something you don't have anything? You know what? We need to show something. And that's the reason why. That is the reason why right now what they want to do is they want to bring everyone out. Right? And basically what they're saying, they want to bring all those people out. They want to bring basically these the Clintons. They want to bring out everyone that was involved. Now, one person that is being very quiet, I have to say, although you saw it today, but Pam Bondi has notably remained out of the public spotlight amid mounting controversy over the Epstein file. She has not testified or spoken publicly. She has not held a press conference or appeared before Congress. She felt backlash over unfulfilled claim because originally she says, there is a file, here's a bunch of names, although now, the names of the file is definitely not in a grand jury. There's nothing in there, trust me. Internal tension, legal and procedural obstacles. So Bondi is kind of very quiet, and that is a bit interesting, I have to say. She should be out there saying more, but no, she's just not really saying anything. Okay. Now, of course, Congress now wants everyone and their mothers to come to Congress, right? They want everyone, they want all these people to come, and they want them all to actually testify. Well, at least Pete Notate says we need to overhaul and run by PDFL, and everybody is complicit. Who authorized the moves? Norman has a great question. Okay. Because even though there's nothing in the file itself, fine, okay. When I say the file, the grand jury files, okay. Uh, then, then, what about the transfer? What transfer? Well, he would appear after Ghislaine Maxwell kind of spoke. She was transferred. There's widespread speculation that Maxwell's relocation may have been linked to an ongoing DOJ effort to secure a cooperation. She reportedly answered detailed questions about 100 individuals with Epstein. Obviously, that information is not in the grand jury file. We know that. A legal team is lobbying for immunity or presidential pardon. Now, you have to understand, Congress wants her to come over and talk. They say, well, hold a second. I'm not sending my client in front of Congress where you can ask her all kind of question without immunity. Suppose she says she saw, Governor A with this girl, right? And that somehow I introduced them. They say, oh, so there was a seventh girl then. Well, we're going to tag another 5 years to the sentence. No. If I'm going to talk, I want to be out. Although I will tell you one thing. She did say that President Trump and nothing was not involved. She didn't see anything, right? So basically, they're sending the message, give me clemency because I'm going to talk, but I'm not going to say anything about you. So you're safe. Give me clemency. That's the message they're sending. But the point is, a legal team is lobbying for immunity or presidential power in exchange for testimony, possibly before Congress. Now, what's unusual about the transfer, because she was sent to another facility, the transfer was considered unusual because it was executed directly by prison staff, not by the usual U.S. Marshals. Well, oh boy, would Wage have some interesting comment? Well, that's the situation that we're having here, right? Because what we're trying to figure out is what's going on, and it's very tough to know what's going on unless you know all the details. And obviously, they're not giving it, but even within the details themselves. I mean, if you read the document, the rejection from the district court, you will see that it says in there is that people, first, you didn't do such a good job sending me the information. You just made a couple of cases. You didn't make a strong case enough that this is very important, apart from, let the people know. And then second of all of the info, I will tell you, there's no references to anyone or anybody apart from Epstein and Maxwell, and that's it. There's no list. There's no people. There's nothing. So I don't see why you want to open this list. Just because the people want it? Come on. But that transfer is very unusual. It was executed directly by the prison bureau staff. Never done. Usually the marshal service do it. Such bypassing of standard protocol that has raised question about possible hidden motives. There's something going on, okay? And victims and legal advocacy groups have denounced the move. They say, what the heck? Now she's going into Club Fed, a nice federal facility where they argue that relocating a convicted sex of trafficker to a more comfortable environment with dorm housing, programs, early condition is inappropriate given the severity of a crime. She's the only one that is indicted. So the DOJ cooperation talks, implication, transfer, followed meetings with Deputy AG, possibly quid pro quo for testimony. Do we get to know? Was a deal made? She said, well, my client's going to talk, but she needs to go in a different place. Okay, fine, done. Well, we're not going to use the marshal. We're going to use the bureau. Fine, done. Okay. Unusual procedure. The move was orchestrated outside the normal channels. Now, you have to understand that this whole thing, right? Why is this such a big deal? Why is this happening? Because after all, the government didn't want to talk about this. It's just move on. There is nothing. And there is nothing in the file. While there is something, out there, right? Because there's got to be something, because there was too much money, too many parties, too many million, too many presidents, that no one did anything at all. But the point is that the MAGA people, they want to know. Okay, the MAGA is extremely important. Basically, MAGA people, quote unquote, said that the government has mishandled the case, a topic that for weeks has consumed its hardened backers. The break exemplified the latest in a swirling controversy among conservative voices over the government alleged delays in releasing more records relating to the disgraced financier. And after all, it was a MAGA movement that got these guys elected. And now, you're not doing anything? I don't think so. You need to show something. Now, structurally speaking, now they have a problem. And the problem that they have is, hey, Epter Jeffers, Ellie is joining us, Jim is joining us, Sam is joining us. Welcome, everyone. Let's see what, wow, let's see, look at that. Woo. 79% of you say, yeah, I want to see the files. And that is the problem. Because now people want to see it, but there's nothing to show. Definitely not in the grand jury. So what they're doing now, they want all hello, cyclic, CCC 360. So now what they want to do is they want to actually bring all of these people to Congress to, quote unquote, testify. That is going to be interesting, because that's going to be interesting because, quite frankly, how are you going to get all these people in? And the people that they've asked to come, we're talking about Clinton. Both Clinton are going to be coming over. The Hillary is going to be coming over. And that's a lot. Now, of course, you have to wonder, why are you bringing over? Hold on, somebody said something interesting here. Cyclic said, there's plenty to show. They just can't be due to most of our government will go down. Well, most of the government will go down. That is a very interesting point that CSIC 360 is making, because, right, it's not so much going to go down because of them going to Congress, because I will tell you, no one goes to jail after testifying in front of Congress, right? It doesn't work that way. No one has ever been, no one has ever gone to jail because of your testimony. It doesn't happen that way, right? Although, I don't know if you remember, but Michael Cohen went there. He was an inmate, like she is, and he actually went in and he testified to Congress while serving the federal sentence in 2019. He was brought into under tight security, and he was questioned about criminal conduct tied to a sitting president. So that's possible, but basically, he didn't. I think he got convicted for because he was lying, but that's nothing. Now, the reason why this could bring the government down is that if you lose the MAGA people, and it's not so much what you did or what you didn't do. This is where it's a mess, and that's why, according from what I heard, there was a meeting last week with J.D. Vance, Trump, a bunch of other people, Modi, to talk about what to do about this. And they said, no, that's not true. We never wanted to talk about this. Okay. The thing is, you need to manage this in a way where you release information so that people are happy, but without damaging yourself and other people, hopefully, right? But the thing is, if you can't release information, because there's nothing to show. That's even worse, because then you see, guys, there's nothing to see. I don't believe you. There is nothing to see. And so that's why they're saying, okay, you know what? Bring everyone and their mothers all the way to Congress. Let them talk about it. Let them see what's happening. Let them go out there, right? So go in front of Congress like they've done plenty of time before. Let's have a big wow. Let's talk about it for days and months. I mean, don't forget, it's already scheduled, right? This has already been scheduled. I think Ghislaine is supposed to talk in October. Everyone has been scheduled. Now the question is, Congress has broad investigative powers under the Constitution and can compel the release of document related to Ghislaine Maxwell. And you should know that there are 12 Republicans that want the file released. Now, the reason we know there's 12 is because they say, here we are. We want it to be released. We want to know what's happening. We want you to know that we want to know. Right? We want you to know that because we really want to know, because we have nothing to, don't put us in there, right? Don't put us in this basket. I want to be reelected. I want to work. I want to do a bunch of things. So you see what's happening? So that's what they're doing. They're trying to bring them in a way so that there's a dozen House Republicans with different corners, right? And they define President Trump. Forget China, forget Russia, forget India. This could be a bigger problem for the current president. They're backing a bipartisan effort seeking more information, right? They would demand that an attorney general disclose all materials, right? I mean, with some exception for the victim. Okay, fine. Let's not put the victims in. But we want to know everything. We want to know what they did, what happened. Now, of course, when you want to know everything, you mean literally everything? Where do we start? Right. What? The list, the name? What does that mean, everything? What are you looking for? There's no plan. So basically, there's a vote. They're going to put a bill they expect all Democrats, and some will sign on to this discharge petition, to force a vote, right? Johnson had criticized the measure as poorly crafted and favors allowing a vote on an alternative non-binding measures. A possible vote will come in September, once lawmakers are back from August recess. So you're talking about Tom Barrett, first time in office, Lauren Boebert, Tim Burchett, a bunch of Republicans, and they basically, why is this guy Eric? This is not about politics. It's about principle. When government, this is from a Republican, when government hides abuse, it's our job to discover it. Ultimately, another one, I don't answer to the president or the voters. I am going to answer to my maker as a Christian. This is another Republican. Another one, there are too many questions and not enough answers about the Epstein files. I agree that it's time to release them, which is why I put my name on the resolution. I have never protected pedophiles or elites and their circles. This is from Marjorie Taylor Greene. So as you could see, everyone wants to see it. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare because there may be nothing to release of any significance, but you cannot release it, right? And I think that that's a problem. We really don't know what's happening, but we also know that basically what's going to happen is, structurally speaking, they have no way to be able to release information and to know, because everybody wants to know. I can't release information. Then what you're going to need to do, you're going to have to walk that fine line where you're basically saying, yes, I am going to release all the information, but I might not be able to tell everything. You say, well, so we're not going to get what we want? We're not going to get what we want. That is not good. We need to do it, right? We need to get what we want. And at this point, my concern is that they're not going to get that. And that's where we stand right now. We stand at the cusp of a, and this could go many ways. This could be a big problem. This could be a big problem because if the government is not able to show resolve, if the government is not able to close this thing, then it loses MAGA. As it loses MAGA, the people like, these guys like Robert Massey, 7th time in office, what does he say? This transcends all issues. This is about whether there is an elite, a powerful group of people who are above the law. And that's what it's about. And right now, anybody who wants to subvert or keep the Epstein file secret, they are on the wrong side. Now, you have to understand, this is what they're telling you, right? This is what they're telling you. What they really mean is, I want your vote. As usual, this channel, the Black Swan, right? We always thought there were only white swans. Now we realize, there are black swans here and there. We're looking for what's really going on. We're looking what's beyond, right? You need to understand what's happening. You need to be aware of the situation. You need to know what's going on. Trump demeanor changed about the files. Yes, again, what Carl is saying is correct because he said there's nothing to see. There's no there. Okay, go away. And then people say, no, we want to know. Okay, fine. Bam, ask for the release of the grand jury. And guess what? There was nothing. They won't release it because there's nothing significant. So his demeanor changed. But his demeanor changed not because he's done something, because obviously people don't like him. Say, aha, right? You did something. No, because he knows what I'm telling you now, which is basically there's nothing to be gained here. And he said it when there was this big meeting. I don't know if you remember. He says, guys, are we still talking about this? Right? Why are we still talking? No, because I got many things to do. I got a country that is basically losing ground. I've got India, Russia, and China that are getting closer and closer and closer together. And here I am going to have to, the New York judge will not even respond. No, they responded. They say, no, you cannot see. The New York judge basically said you cannot see the grand jury. Now, when we say files, right, what do you mean by files? You want to see the grand jury? There's nothing in the grand jury. I read the section. Basically, it says, what does it say? The grand jury, page 18. Okay, here it is. Page 18, paragraph 6. A member of the public familiar with the Maxwell trial record who reviewed the grand jury materials that the government proposes to unseal would thus learn next to nothing new. The materials do not identify any person other than Epstein and Maxwell as having had sexual contact with a minor. They do not discuss or identify any client of Epstein. They do not reveal any hereto unknown means or method of Epstein and the Maxwell's crime. They do not reveal any new venues in which the crimes occur. They do not reveal new sources of their wealth. They do not explore the circumstances of Epstein's death. They do not reveal the path of the government investigation. So there's nothing there. Now, does this mean there's other things running around? That's quite possible. That is quite possible. But right now, there is nothing. No. What can Congress do? Congress can ask for the prosecution records. Not the grand jury, but the prosecution. Indictment, sentencing, memoranda, trials exhibits, Epstein Maxwell client or co-conspirator information, alleged clients or co-conspirators. That's different kind of files we're talking about. Investigating privilege, privacy protection for uncharged individuals. FBI file, sealed court filings. Well, that unfortunately they won't be able to get. But we're talking about deposition, settlement agreement, Bureau of Prisons record. what Congress cannot force without a legal battle is a grand jury materials. So they said, no, you're not going to get that. Attorney-client communications. So very unlikely that all these things are going to be doable. Didi says, did the Florida judge give a reason why she refused the request? Yes. Well, is it a Florida judge? No, it's a New York judge. It's a judge, Paul. No, he basically said, the reason why I will not allow you to watch, to see, or release the grand jury is because there's nothing to see in the document. And the reason you ask is because the government had to ask for a reason. This is the reason why we want to release his special circumstances. Basically, the people want to know. He says that's not good reason enough. There's nothing in that's going to help you. Okay? And that's a problem. That's a problem from a strategic point of view because you need to show something. You need to have something. Right? And now, the fact that you have 12 Republicans that are coming out publicly saying, I want to see them. I want to see them. You're basically telling the president, listen, I don't care. I got to show, even though, who was the judge? Well, the judge name is Paul Engelmayer, United States District Judge. He signed this on August 11, 2025. And he basically says nothing to see there. So let's move on. So they can't, I don't think he's lying. There's going to be client attorney privilege, correct. You're not going to be able to. So basically what it comes down to is Congress says, okay, what can we do then? Well, because Congress is, Republicans right now. So, bring everybody in. Let's bring all these people in. Let's have them talk about it. Let's have them discuss it. Let's see what they think and what's going on and what were you doing. And then when they even asked Bill Clinton and a bunch of Republicans, mostly Democrats, quite frankly, but a few Republicans, and they're going to ask him, I said, so what can you say? What do you know? What's going on? Let's see what you can tell us. And I don't know. I don't know what they're going to come up with. Right? So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And by the way, my everyone that's there, I want to make sure that right now we're going to keep up with this story and why this is important. But tomorrow we're going to talk about India and a bunch of other things. So there's always and at the end of the day, we're looking for a black swan. We're looking for how bad can things get. We're looking to figure out what's going on, what's really going on, right? For example, when these 12 people are basically saying, the 12, the 12 Republicans, they're saying, I want to know. What they're really saying is, give me your vote, MAGA, right? They're all saying that. That's what they're saying. Because they know, how people are going to vote. They know very well if it's going to work or it is not going to work. So that's always that's a problem. That's a problem right there because this could go on and on and on, and you're not able to actually capture the essence of what's happening. You're not able to tell the people, well, here it is, here. You want a body? You want a head? Is that what you're looking for? You want a bunch of people talking? Now, if you're Bill Clinton, are you going to want to talk? Well, as long as you have immunity, or I don't know. I don't think he has anything to hide. But although having said that, the guy like Bill Clinton, is an interesting choice to say the least, right? Because they're going to ask him a bunch of different kind of questions that I'm not so sure how appropriate it is and what he knows and what he's going to say. But I will tell you, if they're the person that you want to talk to, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. You want Maxwell, right? You want Maxwell to go on there on Congress, but she's not going to come out unless she gets something. And that's the reason why I think that, that's the reason why they're asking all these other people to go there, right? Because they know that, well, what are you going to hear? These people are going to talk and talk, but they're not going to, they're going to tell you, I was there, I agree, but I didn't, there's nothing for me to, you know, to talk about because there's nothing exciting for me to tell you. Okay. But having said that, um, MAGA wants to focus on bigger battles. I mean, there's a distrust in media framing, and what about the Clinton? I mean, these are all the things that are going to come out. So what they want to know is the potential. It's going to be an impact on the new revelations. That's going to be a problem. The testimony were to include new or damaging revelation, the impact on Donald Trump could be significant. What do I mean by that? Well, politically, legally, depending on the content and corroborating evidence. But I don't think that that's what Trump was worried about when he said, let's move on. He's worried that he's worried about what's happening right now. That basically Congress is going to be stuck for like 2 months talking about this thing, knowing that at the end of the day, they won't be able to come up with anything. And that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem because then people are going to say, well, there's nothing. I mean, all these people, there's nothing. You're lying. I mean, if new evidence emerges, especially criminal nature, Trump could face renewed investigation. But there's statute of limitation, lack of corroboration. Nobody's going to, he could erode support. That's the biggest fear on the administration is the eroding of support among independent and moderate, right? So it's going to be very, very difficult. The thing is, if she, because that's what you want to hear. You want to hear her talk. I mean, imagine Republican asking her questions. Imagine Democrat asking a question, pointing to people, say, was he there? Was she there? You know what I mean? Things like that. That is what the reason she knows a lot more is even though she went to trial and she was convicted only for what she allegedly did and what she did. I mean, she was proven guilty. She's going there for that reason, right? She didn't go for other things. They didn't ask her for transfer of money, but Maxwell never publicly named individuals. Why? She could have blamed somebody else. No, because if you bring that in and you say, well, I saw him do this, or you were with him, or then you get another 5 years. So she can't talk about that. She participated in or benefited from Epstein trafficking network or individuals that were present at Epstein's property. She never mentioned anyone who appeared in the flat logs. According to Clinton, he think he was there 5 or 6 times. According to others, like 26 times. Why was this withheld during the trial? This was limited because the prosecutors themselves limited the scope to Maxwell's conduct. Of course, we talk about prosecutor, and this is even weirder, is that Maureen Comey, the daughter, she actually was the one that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell and was fired very recently. They may kill Maxwell if she's in. Let's see. Let's put it this way: if she gets killed now, then we're off to the races. She falls down a crack ahead, we are off to the races because now no one is going to believe for 1 second that this is happening just like that. You're going to say, come on, that's a conspiracy now. Now there's something going on. They're trying to hide. They know something is happening and they do not want to talk about it. It's amazing the way they're going about it. Okay, And yeah, so Marine Comey was fired. And you know what? Even worse, nobody knows why. President said fired. That's the end of that. So what did Ghislaine Maxwell know? Well, she could know blackmail materials and surveillance. There is long-standing speculation that Epstein and Maxwell secretly recorded guests for blackmail and leverage. They had a system of video monitoring inside the residence and guest rooms. They maintain archive of tapes, CDs, photos, logs. What Maxwell would reveal, where materials were stored and who was recorded and why. I mean, where is this stuff? No, there's nothing. International ties and intelligence links. Some investigating journalists and former intelligence officials have suggested that Epstein and possibly Maxwell had intelligence connection. This is nuts. So, international connections. Whether she or Epstein worked as intermediary or informants. Maybe they had such a, I mean, the first trial that he had a good sweetheart deal. And you may remember or not, but one of the guys that was to work in the government, the first Trump administration, had to leave his job because he was involved, and he said, you know, a whole bunch of things happened. I forgot the guy's name, but he was a Secretary of Commerce or something like that. Operation in other countries. Little has been disclosed about what occurred at Epstein's foreign residence or travel. Maxwell, who holds British and French citizenship, may have information on European participants and facilitators. We know something is up. If Merrick Garland didn't use it against Trump in the last election, right? It's a chess game at this point. It is a chess game. And the chess game is as follows. All right. So the people want to know, is there anything to know? Well, what do you mean no? We can't put him, you don't go to jail about going to Congress, right? Congress is not a court. Okay. You only go to jail in Congress if you lie. Did anybody did anything? Well, I think somebody did, but who knows? Well, it doesn't matter because now we need to demonstrate clear and openness. In fact, they are clamoring, all of them, to show how eager they are to show they have nothing to hide. To the point where it's comical because unless you bring Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, you interviewing Bill Clinton, what is he going to tell you? I was there, I had a drink, I flew. Yes, I took the plane. But I didn't take the plane to go to the island. I took the plane he gave me the plane. He had a bunch of planes to visit, I think, Clinton because of the Clinton initiative. Don't forget, when Epstein died, he was worth $600 million. 600. That's a lot of money. Okay. $600 million. Imagine. And it's and what's very, very, very weird, okay, is that he had $56 million in cash. It's hard to believe that out of all of this, only one person got convicted. Her. He had 18 million in planes with an S. So there were many planes. There weren't just one plane. Cars and boats. So the thing was all over the place. Lots of people. Don't forget, I don't know if you know, but Epstein himself, forget this situation. He also had, he was part of a Ponzi scheme, which in an incredible set of circumstances, he did not get indicted. The other guy got 20 years. He got nothing. Supposedly, he talked and he gave up his partner. So these are very, 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 you know, questionable individuals, I would say. Okay. And very concerned that this could go on for some times and be very detrimental to everything. It's going to impact you. I will explain to you how it could impact you. Do you think let's do another survey. Do you think someone else will be convicted? We vote all the Republicans out of office. That's nice. Do you want to see the files? Wow, 237. Everyone says yes. It's amazing. This is going to be very interesting. How they're going to, not so much. I'm not so curious. Somebody's going to, but I want to see how they manage themselves out of this. Do you think someone else will be convicted? Let's see. Because we are nosy. Well, obviously, some of us want to know, hey, what's going on in there? But you're not going to find out anything. But I think the power that be have a big problem is they need to manage this thing efficiently. They need to manage this thing in a way that, frankly, it gets put to bed. They could focus on other things. 57. 62% think that somebody is going to be really. I don't know. I don't know about that. They aren't going to charge. Didi is right. They aren't going to charge anyone. But you can't charge anyone. There's nobody on the investigation right now. Even if you go to Congress, you say I was on the plane, whatever. You don't go to jail for that. No other conviction. She could potentially be let go, so that we could hear her say, you know what, there's nothing, because they want her to testify, but the only thing is they don't want to give her immunity. She's not going to testify. She already, that's not going to happen. 58% yes. Wow. And don't forget to subscribe. Amazing. So they're not, that is not happening. So while we're waiting for the result of this, this other survey, so basically she could name the high profile associates, although according to her, Trump is not there. Even though she named 100 names, she didn't mention him. Blackmail materials, international ties, operation in other countries, financial network and sponsors, government or legal cover-ups. What happened before Epstein's death? She could talk about his state of mind, who visited him in the final weeks, any information suggested Epstein feared assassination. Why she may still be silent, because self-incrimination risk, fear of retaliation, deals or leverage. You may be surprised, because don't forget, it's not like she's staying in jail doing nothing. She's going back and forth with the federal, trying in the Supreme Court, and she's trying a bunch of different things. So it's not like she's doing nothing. She's out there doing a thing. She's trying to work out the angles. Is it going to work? Let's see. But it's a possibility. The possibility is that it is quite possible that Maureen Comey was seen as a roadblock to a potential clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. Maureen Comey, the daughter of John Comey, that Trump also was fired herself for no reason. And the reason they said that she was fired, that's, I think, is the biggest clemency sign, is because there is no official confirmation. But the reason why Comey may have been an obstacle is because she was the lead prosecutor on the Maxwell case. Maureen Comey led the federal prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein. She was deeply involved in trial strategy, evidence presentation, sentencing recommendation. A continued presence gave credibility and institutional memory to the case, making any reversal, clemency, or pardon legally and politically difficult. Clemency would require institutional cooperation. Even if a president grants clemency, the DOJ Office of the Pardon Attorney, the Bureau of Prison, and local U.S. Attorney Office often wade in and execute the administrative process. Trump can't just say, okay, let her go. No. That needs to, Comey's firing was sudden and unexplained. What else is this? Trump's allies have expressed interest in Maxwell. Trump have never ruled out clemency for Maxwell. I've met her numerous times. I wish her well. That some phrase was used during her trial in 2020. Maureen is the daughter of James Comey, the former FBI director. Fired by Trump. Firing her could be seen as a power move, clearing the path symbolically and operationally for controversial actions like a Maxwell clemency. That's right. I mean, so basically what we're saying is that there will be more coming out from the White House. This is not the end of this mess. Who did he transfer this money to the trustee to 2 days before he died? Yes. I mean, basically, a lot of money was transferred to people overseas, but also a lot of money was taken to pay for the victims. I've done this a cause of failure in the that's a problem. Let's see what the result is. 57, do you think someone else will be convicted? 57% said yes. Wow. But not as strong as before. Correct. So that's where we stand, my friends. That is where we stand. This is what's happening as we speak. This is where the we will see. We'll see what happens later on. We'll see what the cases are. Let's continue the discussion. Pardon on his way out. That's what it is. So if you want to continue the discussion, let's send some super chat my way. I want to buy some coffee or something. Do it. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for some more interesting discussion on other topics. Nothing? Okay. Okay, my friends, I will see you tomorrow.